Hey guys, it's Tyler and Nate with Roxy Music. We're a music store that's been in business since 1939. And today we're talking about playing live.
Woo!
So, in live performances, otherwise known as gigging, playing out.
The gig life.
Yeah, it's a ton of terms for it. You've been doing it for how long?
Well, I started playing music when I was a little kid. You know, played piano at 8, band in middle school and high school and stuff like that. By the time we got to high school, our band director was helping put together groups of guys, and we made little jazz combos, played trumpet, and he would help us find little gigs to go out and play.
Sure.
So 17, 18 years old is when I started, playing out in front of people.
Yeah.
I guess you'd say it definitely caught the bug. It was very addicting.
Yeah.
And playing in front of people and having a good time. So 20 years or so.
Nice. Yeah, that's a long time. So we're talking about that today because we want to go, because I know there's a lot of people growing up, that's what I wanted to do, play live. And there's a lot of people who are really into that, but they don't know how to get into it, what it takes to do, how you can earn a living while doing it, what a living looks like while doing it. And we're going to try and give you the honest and truthful answers about that and how you can do it successfully. Yeah. And so I've done it a couple times. In high school, I played at our youth group all the time. Every week playing in front of 50, 60 kids.
Yeah. It was fun. Yeah, absolutely.
It was fun. Our team actually got to go out and perform at and churches that asked us to come, which was a lot of fun. And then I ended up going to college for music, and my college was more modern, so it wasn't as classical based. And our whole idea was you got to get into a band and get
You're more pushing you towards that performance life or stuff like that.
And that was kind of the way my professors geared the curriculum towards. And then, so we learned a lot about that. And then I went out and did a few. And then I found it wasn't what I wanted to do. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to work a ton and make $60. And that's unfortunately a lot of it starting out.
It's very true. Yeah. Or how many times have I traveled in a van with stinky dudes to go get $300 to split with 5 guys or whatever, But it takes sacrifice and hard work and determination and stuff like that. Just like a lot of other things that you're going to try and be successful with. But so you have to ask yourself those hard questions sometimes. It's interesting.
But there are ways you can do it to make money if you figure out how to get gigs, monetize. Social media now is a great way to push that. So in that firm, you're still doing it for 20 years, and that's impressive.
Yeah. I don't know what I would do if I couldn't play out. It's the thing that I love the most about being alive right now. I've been playing for 20 years, and like I said, the thing that I love the most is playing music for people. I've always said, everybody has a favorite song. Every person, even if they're a total frumpy Gus, they're still know all the words to one song and would get down with you if you could play that song and sing that song. They would do that. And so even if I play a gig with one person in the audience, the best part is seeing them have a good time or being their little break from reality or being able to offer that to people. That's the thing that I enjoy the most.
That's awesome. So what bands are you currently playing in?
So I play in a band called Midwest Hype, which I've been in for 20 years now. We formed that in college. We play all original music, so we write and record our own music, and we've put out several albums over the years. Another band I play in is called Pablo's Great Revenge, which is I put it in about a half and half both. We write original music, but we also play covers because we're playing these gigs where we got to play for 3 hours. And we just don't have 3 hours of original content. And the places that you play for 3 hours typically don't want to hear songs they've never heard. The entertainment is what you're there for. Unless you're at a venue and it's you're going there to see the band you like. So you're kind of you know, you got to know your role and be that entertainment. So that's Pablo's Great Revenge. That's about half and half. And then there's a new band that I've been playing with called Skirt, where we all realized that we like the same kind of music. And so we just started playing those songs and met each other at open mics and stuff like that. But then we just hit it off. And our singer, Kyla, is a great songwriter. So we just started taking some of the songs that she already had and just putting our own spin on them or having fun with them and seeing what sticks. And now we got 8 or 9 originals, something like that we're starting to incorporate more. And that's cool because we can start trying to find those venues that want an original set or something like that.
That's awesome. So you said you started out playing like contemporary jazz or combo jazz gigs with Professor.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a trumpet player. I still am a trumpet player. That was my first love, is the trumpet. And so we were all in jazz band, and we just would learn jazz standard tunes and then get these little gigs playing. I call them the ice cream socials because I swear we must have played 5 or 6 different ice cream socials that were all over our county. And things like that were super valuable to me looking back on it now. We were so scared and nervous to show up and play, and we were so worried about every note that we played, And then when you get there, you realize these people don't even have anywhere for us to plug in. So that becomes a way bigger issue, and learning how to deal with everything else that goes into it besides the music.
Yeah. So talking about that, what do you think some specific skills like are required to play in bands besides being able to play the music?
Yeah, just besides practicing and working together. Well, I guess
you should do.
Yeah, you should absolutely practice. You should absolutely practice. That is a key factor. If a super important thing is working with the people that you're playing with.
What does that look like?
Well, finding out people's preferences and stuff like that, right? It's just the same as interpersonal relationships that you deal with at any job. And I think if some people run into a problem where they don't think about it like that, and they just they think we're here and we're trying to be rock stars or something like that. They're not realizing that we have to work together to make sure everybody's happy. Otherwise, you really, at the end of the day, you're not going to get as much enjoyment from it if so-and-so's in the corner and not liking what they're playing, or they're getting yelled at, or things like that. That was super or talking about a set list, right? Learning like where I'm going to make concessions, or so I can get one that I really like in there, or that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah. Have you ever had a crazy experience where it just didn't, like, you couldn't keep going with a person you're working with, or someone couldn't keep going with you guys?
Yeah, there's been experiences like that, and a lot of times, a good example is some people show up at open mic nights and want to. So if you're playing at an open mic night and you're by yourself, you can play whatever you want. You play your guitar and sing your song. But if you're at some sort of a jam scenario and you want everybody there to play a song that you want to play, and you won't take no for an answer, or don't realize that maybe we don't know that tune, or you just start playing it anyway and make everybody really uncomfortable, or there's people don't know how to deal with those situations. Or the other thing is your etiquette while you're playing. A lot of times you really have to be in the jamming scenarios to understand, like, we don't really want to listen to your 5-minute solo over the blues here, like we got 6 other guys up here, we're jamming here. Be nice. Those are kind of things that I learned doing it, out of the frying pan into the fire. And those were eye openers along the way, for sure.
I remember I've had some experiences where I remember getting frustrated over, because I was playing with another guitar player, and when there's 2 guitar players in like a setup, you kind of have to at least loosely define like what you're gonna do.
Yeah, your roles.
Else you're gonna just be on top of.
Well, and it's boring if you're just playing the same thing too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so and he had much more technical ability than I did, and he had a lot more licks and stuff that he knew, and it kind of went where I was playing, and it's like, oh, he's chording low right now. I'm gonna go play some chimey stuff up high, And then in like half a measure later, he's like shredding the solo. I'm like, oh,
Sorry.
I guess I gotta go. And then he goes back, and I'm like, okay, I don't know where to fit in this.
So I would say that person was a poor listener.
Yeah.
Because they're just milking their own ego to just play whatever they feel like at that given moment, as opposed to.
And what he played sounded really good.
I'm sure it was awesome. Yeah. Right.
It didn't take into account like the other players, especially like having two guitars the same instrument.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're in a fill-in situation, you don't know all those tendencies he's going to have. But if they had a way to inform you of that, you would know what to do, right? Yeah. Those sort of things you just have to learn while you're playing a gig. You can plan for everything. You know? Yeah. It's the Mike Tyson quote. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Until you show up at that gig, you know, or you could be totally prepared and your guitar breaks. You break your string, or you know what I mean. It's like those things are unaccounted for and unplanned for. So learning to just be able to adapt and go with the flow. Yeah, that was a super valuable skill I learned in playing in college. I was in a group called the Ball State University Singers, and it was like a 40-person choir, and I was in the backup band. Yeah, but we would go out on these runs out to high schools to play for their choir programs and stuff like that. And we have this huge set we're bringing, and then we get to a high school and we can't fit these through their loading dock door. So now what? We have this show. It's 40 people that are singing and dancing on this riser that we can't fit in between, the door. We have to figure out what to do. We can't not do it. Yeah. You know? So you start planning, you start talking about it. You hopefully rely on everybody's ability and musicianship and easygoingness, hopefully, so they're not. You find people get in that situation where we don't know what's going to happen. People shut down or get angry, and they don't know what to do.
So you talked about etiquette as like a skill. What would you say some like etiquette things you have to do? You mentioned listening, so you have to listen to your other musicians. Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge proponent of listening as a musician. If you're not understanding what your role is in the grand scheme of your band that you're fitting in, I don't think you're serving it well. That's not to say that some bands can just go through the motions because they're playing songs they've played for 30 years or something like that. And I can honestly say that I'm guilty of that too. Yeah. If I'm playing Sweet Home Alabama or Brown Eyed Girl, I'm really probably watching somebody out in the crowd. Yeah. Or something like that.
And to be fair, part of that is like, there is a part for that.
That's true too. Yeah, right. So what kind of music we're playing is big on that etiquette thing too. Some things that I hear people talk about: playing behind a solo if somebody's soloing, doing too much noodling, or some is good, right? Yeah. Maybe you hear him play a line and you're like, oh, I know what he's doing there, or you might give him a little call and response, or with your comping maybe or something like that. But you can do too much. Mm-hmm. Some people get really mad if you notice their lick and then you kind of go off of that or steal their thunder a little bit. Some people get mad about that. And that's part of learning who you're playing with too. So,
one thing I've learned with that is like also it kind of depends. Like if you're doing an 8-bar solo, well, you're not gonna fit in a bunch of stuff. No. It's gonna be the part that is in the record, basically.
Yeah, that's true too. Like if you're playing a pop tune or something like that, we call it in my bands. We say, "Are we doing this textbook?" Yeah. Like, are we doing it like, am I learning that solo, or should I just do my own thing or whatever? Yeah. Or do we want to open it up? Do we want to rearrange it? Yeah. Those are things that we talk about when we're practicing.
Yeah. Another thing I learned, and you can feed back on it. Like when we were doing comping solos, like in college and stuff, a lot of things. One of my teachers was like, if you're doing like a long form solo where you have a lot of time to breathe and like make your own thing, background music, like if it starts slow, it gives you a lot of room, and then
dynamics, right. I think that's one of the most listening we talked about, right? You got to listen to the other members of your band and playing dynamically. Yeah. I make this point to my students all the time. Dynamic means changing, right? Yeah. So it's not about how loud you are. Yeah. It's about the difference between your softness and your loudness. It's about that.
And change. How you play it too.
Yeah. I agree.
Short, length.
If you're always thinking about developing and serving the song, you know what stuff you think is exciting. Like when I'm watching music or something like that, when that super exciting moment or that build up happens, I like to appreciate where we came from. We started with a simple basic groove here, and now we're bringing the walls down, and that can be every song.
Yeah.
Right. And then finding the people to play with that you can have these kind of conversations with and find these common goals with the people that you're playing with. It's a super hard thing to do. And that's why people form bands and fall out of bands, right? These things happen.
Yeah, so what other etiquette things? So like, what happens if like you have a band member and you might have that, do you have band members that, or have you run into had performances with band members or people not in your current bands, but that have been like pretty consistently late to performances, practices, things?
I mean, it happens to everybody, right?
Yeah.
You just really, if there's somebody that's not showing up on time for stuff, you just don't want to work with that person, right? I don't think I've ever been in a situation where it's like, we're not going to let you be in this band anymore because you're not, but it's like, hey, you screwed up. Yeah. Or do they own it? Do they say, oh, that won't happen again? Or, you know what I mean? And stuff happens, obviously, too, right?
And obviously, it's like, everybody's going to be late at some point. But, like, it's more, so, like, I feel like on time is pretty fair, like, common goal. If you're on time, etiquette for gig is...
certain things, if you have a lot of stuff to set up, being aware of that. Some etiquette stuff for playing... that I've learned along the way in like a group, not a group, that's a bad word, like a multi-bill show with like lots of bands. Yeah. And reaching out to those people, finding out who's amenable to sharing gear, those kind of things go a long way for like production staff at a venue. Yeah. And if you're working with that, I notice sometimes when I play at new venues, people aren't asking those questions. Yeah. Right. And I'm the first one to go, hey, what can we do? Yeah. Like, how can we pool these resources? Yeah. This is 3 hours of our lives on Friday night. You know what I mean? We can do this right. Like, we can get the stuff there. You can use my bass rig. Well, or, are we the last band? Like, we start realizing that the headlining band is going to go up there and put their stuff up first, and they're going to sound check. And then you're going to put your stuff up there and go in front of them. And, like, dealing with that sort of thing, and not getting in production people's way. Yes. Or telling them how to do their job. They love that. And when you tell them, oh, bring some mids out of my voice or whatever, or it's like, I think that's kind of rude. Yeah. Like, let the sound guy do his job. Do your job. He's there to make you sound good, right? Yeah. So trust them.
Another, like, so in your sound checks, I am definitely guilty of this. Do you ever have people like that overplay and just like are playing another?
I will, and I will call him out. My saxophone player Ben, he every time at the sound check, up and down the whole horn. I was like, Ben, you're giving away all your tricks, man. Like, you could just play Mary Had a Little Lamb, bro. We just need to make sure that mic works. But we just tease him about that. Yeah. I think it's important if you're sound checking, if you have a lot of time, when you're Paul McCartney, you probably get a lot more time in your stadium to make sure you sound good, but when you're me and the sound guy just got done checking his fourth band and now you're next and he wants to make sure your instrument works. He wants to make sure he has signal from you, and he's going to mix that when you're playing, right? You know what I mean? So you need to play stuff that he can clearly find out those things that he needs to do. I play a lot of quarter notes, low notes, high notes. If I have any peculiar sounds, if I'm using extra octave down stuff, I say, hey, check this out. You might want to, I don't know where your subs are set or anything like that. You want to be able to show them your extremes. Yeah. And I don't think there's any reason to have that The desire to play a bunch of flashy stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's cool to be able to turn the heads though and stuff like that. I'm guilty the same way. If I see somebody out there that knows a certain song or we've jammed it before, I'll play that when I'm doing my sound check or something just to try to get a chuckle, that sort of thing. That's fun stuff.
Yeah. So what would you do if you were restarting and you wanted to join bands and get into them? What steps would you take to get there?
I would, and what I need to do better now is just be work on having more of a treating myself like a business.
Sure.
Which is what I've been trying to do the last several years, and thinking of myself as a musician that can get out there. But as far as just joining up with bands and stuff like that, I feel like I'm really lucky because I've had this great experience of playing with my band Midwest Hype, where we all just met each other and played in high school, like at the parties and stuff like that. And then now we're like family. So it's a totally different scenario than I imagine a lot of people being in bands. But so we just started, it was cool 2 years ago to start a new band, the Skirt Band. It's been cool to kind of see the contrast between the starts of that and the starts of each one of those things. So I have been much more mindful about what songs we start to learn.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Always thinking about the end product now, as opposed to when I was 18, just being so dang excited that I'm getting to do this. Like, I never thought I could do this. Oh my gosh, how cool.
Yeah.
You know, and then now I'm like, well, we could do this really good.
Yeah.
So I wish I had that attitude.
Yeah.
Even back then.
Yeah. Would you, so I know like you have someone that kind of goes out and finds gigs for you, but if someone's looking to try and find gigs and they put together a band, what would you recommend them to do?
Absolutely go and take your whole band. Even if your whole band and you think open mic nights and stuff like that are beneath you, go to those things anyway and talk to the other musicians.
Yeah.
Find out where they play. You know, if you're friends with those people, they're going to give you your name to the booker or the venue agent. They're going to say, yeah, you should book them in there. And then other than that, it's a ton of letdown, right? Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many places we email and we just repeatedly do it. Yeah. You know, hey, Skirt's ready to play here. You know, we're ready. Now 2 years into it, we're starting to get some of these callbacks, you know? So it really is, you know, it's a perseverance thing. Yeah. Don't get discouraged when, you know, you might think what you're doing is really, really awesome, but it's still new and exciting to you too. Yeah. Wait 3 months and you know what I mean? You're going to be better. Yeah. You know, so.
Wait 3 months for what?
You think our new band is awesome. We're killing these songs. We're so good. And then you send a video of you guys playing in the garage to the club that you know, like, we're just as good as these bands playing here. We should totally get a gig here. But they're like, they probably don't think you're that good. It's like new and exciting to you. So those new things always seem like, oh, this couldn't be any better. But I can't tell you how many times I've listened to a recording of myself from 3 months ago on something I'm doing now and going, oh man, I was bad at that. Yeah. Or something like that. You start to just get more used to it, you know? And realize, being able to take yourself out of what's going on and look back into it and saying, okay, you know, let's just keep working on this. Yeah. We will be better at this song in 3 months, and we'll send another version of it to the person. And if they don't like us, we'll send it to the next place. Yeah. There's a million places to play. So
one of my teachers in college, he runs one of the biggest wedding bands in the Minneapolis area. And he told me, like, for wedding bands, and it's kind of different than gigs, but kind of the same goal. The people and like the people getting married, booking the wedding bands, don't care really how good you are. They care if you make people dance.
Yeah, that's true too. That's right. So we were talking about it earlier, how our job is, you know, I'm at the random bar and they just have a band from 7 to 10 o'clock. You know, that's just their entertainment at night, right? So if you can get people out of their seats and spending money and spending money there, spending money is not as important at a wedding, but they want everybody there to have a good time. Yeah. And even if there's 5 people in there, if they're partying their butts off, the owners are gonna know that. Yeah. They're gonna know that, and they're gonna remember, yeah, you had a good time. These people were good.
Yeah, so would you recommend, so if someone's trying to do like a video like you mentioned earlier to send out to clubs, would you recommend like trying to get like a garage video, or would you think like, hey, let's go to this spot, let's get some of our friends, invite them out, try and get as many, and try and get them dancing and video that?
That's a really good idea. I mean, if you're sending in video and stuff like that, anything that you're going to get noticed more for,
Yeah.
right? That is going to always be, you know, if you're having a little party and you play tunes for your friends and they're dancing or having a good time, that is always going to be able to get put together better than, you know, that's going to make you look way better than just playing in your garage.
Because there's always going to be like someone who can outplay you,
Absolutely.
Outgroove you. But if you can get people dancing, that's what the venues really care about.
I notice a lot of times too, like, you know, people's personalities come across as they're playing, you know, so I'm pretty animated when I play.
Sure.
So people like know that I'm having a good time. I think that anyway. I'm having a good time, so I hope that's evident to people. And that makes people want to be a part of what, you know, they like, if they are looking up there at you and you're all having fun and not just head down or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that's a whole type of music too, though, right? You know, some people don't want to be like super excited about it. But I guess I'm specifically talking about in the club scene, you know, in these bars and stuff. You want people to have a good time. Yeah. That's the number one goal. You have to take your ego out of it and realize we're employees here, right? You know, and it's our job to make sure everybody's happy.
And one thing like I've noticed is like if you're not typically like animated and like it's not natural for you, it is a skill you could learn.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, I've absolutely worked on, you know, kicking my leg or something. You know what I mean? Like it's cheesy, but it's fun. You know, and it is exciting.
It feels weird on stage.
It does. It does.
Especially if you're practicing it with no one there.
So I have a story about playing at a battle of the bands with Midwest Hype in Indianapolis. This would be, I was 20 years old, so this was 18 years ago. And they had this big battle of the bands at a place called Birdie's in Indianapolis. And it was multiple weeks. It would go for the whole summer, you know. So you would go on your day and play against 4 other bands, and then the crowd votes which was their favorite band. And if you win, you get to go on to like the next round. So it's like a tournament type thing. And we won our first round, came back the next month to do the next one. So we're playing with some bands that were obviously the next step up, or they're at least bringing people to vote for them.
Sure.
Right. So we're thinking we're not a local band. This was in Indianapolis, and we were all around Muncie, Indiana at the time. So we don't have anybody coming with us. We're all just going there by ourselves to go and play this gig. And so we're like, we have to do something dumb to make people remember us. So we sat in front of the house that I rented when I lived in college, and we practiced with 5 guys, like a super cheesy choreographed dance during like a bass and drum breakdown, right? And we're like in squares and just doing these like just little one step up, one step over, and we're like working around, spinning around. You know, we have no idea what we're doing, you know? So we go and play the second round, and we won. Like, we didn't have anybody there to vote for us or anything like that, but we stuck with people enough just by doing some cheesy, gimmicky. It made them think we were fun. Yeah. Right. When we went back for the third round, we didn't win. We didn't end up going past the next round after that. The bands were monsters. We were all kids, and these were now we're getting to these guys that are doing this technical stuff, and we're playing Sublime songs, you know. But when we went back the next month, an artist that had seen us at the first one made a whole like panel comic with like hand-drawn caricatures of all of us, and gave us like our best write-up we ever had. That was like, this band that nobody knew came from Muncie and totally wowed the crowd and blew everybody away. And I still have that comic in a frame at my house. And it was like a really cool thing. But so like we were talking about, little stuff like that can make a big difference, or make people remember you, or make people have a good time, which is what we were talking about.
I believe you can learn anything. Like, so if it's not natural to you, you can practice it and you'll get good at it.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Gotta practice. That's how we got good at everything. Sometimes we forget all the work that we've put in. you know what I mean, like growing up or anything like that. And people are remarkable. Yeah.
So what would you say your favorite part of playing live is?
I think we touched on it earlier, but just being a part of the thing that brings people joy, right? It's when they're enjoying what you're playing or whatever. I like to think that it's because they're not worrying about whatever's bothering them or anything like that. Like if I can take people's minds away from any nonsense or whatever, that I think that's the total goal of joy through music and stuff like that. So that's the most fun. But I mean, obviously, I absolutely love playing the bass and rocking out and like playing next to a drummer and jumping up and down and getting sweaty. I mean, like it's fun. It's fun to do that stuff. But I wouldn't be there doing that if it didn't make other people around. If it didn't. So I got to say that being there for other people.
And then, do you have favorite songs you guys play? Artists, covers?
Just kind of, I always say this, I hate doing the favorite thing, but so I just say whatever I'm liking, now, right? Because it's going to change, right? Or
you have a favorite style you like to play?
I love playing funk music, short notes, space to hear stuff, and I think that's the most danceable. That's what makes me get out of my seat. So that's what I have the most fun playing. I love all the old soul stuff. I recently made an arrangement of Get Back by the Beatles. We're doing this 16th note shuffle kind of groove. And it's like, I really love watching all those Scary Pockets videos. They take the old songs and just kind of put a new spin, a new take on them and stuff like that. So I've been inspired to try to do that kind of stuff and use more soul kind of songwriting techniques to make arrangements like that. That's my favorite stuff to play. One song that we're having a blast every time that we play is Use Me by Bill Withers. Use Me Up. I think it's just Use Me. But we go too fast on purpose and have big solos and do goofy stuff. I rearranged. I was playing a gig and we had a fill-in guitar player and we were playing Use Me. And he just yells across the stage. He's like, "Hey, do Hit the Road Jack right now." And so there's a part in Use Me where it's normally just drums and vocals. But so this guy was like, "Play the chords for Hit the Road Jack." And so we just like did this E minor walk down to the 5 chord, like down, 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 down. But we did those chords over the part that was supposed to be no music. And it just made it really cool, and so we were all floored by that. But he was like, that just must be what he does when he plays that song, So he was able to cue all of us, and we did it. And then so now we do that every time. It gets exciting.
Nice.
That's been a really fun one to play lately. Like I said, we're taking a song that everybody knows and having our fun with it. And actually, just at band practice yesterday, we kind of decided we're gonna put another song in that one's place. We kind of mash it up with another one and that sort of thing. But we're still going to play it, but we're going to, we're breaking up the monotony. So that stuff is still fun to play for us.
So on average, how many gigs do you do like in a month?
Average, I have a weekly open mic that I host every week. And I call a good week playing on Friday and Saturday night. So that would, I would say an excellent month would be, what is that? 8, 12 gigs a month. Sometimes Thursday ones pop up. Sometimes there's no Friday. But if I'm happy with that 8 to 12. And like I said, that turns into, as long as we're actually getting paid, that turns into something that can actually contribute to my income. So that's a good thing.
So, and speaking of that, what other things do you do to like make money?
So I work at Roxy Music. Come check it out. And love it. And I'm teaching too. So I teach here at the shop. I teach at a charter school. And so I made the decision a long time ago to try to do everything music. I gotta do music. I was trying to just only play, and it just was not feasible. But it was just not enough.
Really hard.
It's too hit or miss. Without something steady coming in, I was not able to actually budget or do anything like that. So there definitely is some supplemental income coming from working in the store, teaching private lessons, and in teaching private lessons is a hit or miss game too. You know, the people come and people go. It's not as consistent as an hourly gig. But it's about finding what makes it work for you.
Yeah, and teaching's a big deal. Like, there's a lot of people that just want to learn music, and they're not going to go perform.
Yeah, they don't have the desire to perform.
And that's what they want to do. Yeah. But you get a chance to teach things that you love, and people get into.
Absolutely, yeah. Teaching is super rewarding. And when I first started working here at Roxy, that was 2015. I was hesitant to come in and start teaching. I didn't know if I wanted to do that. Enough arm twisting, and I was like, okay, fine. And I'm so glad that I can't believe I was so hard-headed about that. But it's been so rewarding. Yeah. And now I'm getting to the point where people that I've taught are out there playing, or they're asking me these questions. How am I going to get this gig or whatever? And I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry that you're frustrated, but that's I'm got goosebumps that you're asking me that right now. So that I love the teaching and everything like that. Yeah. The gigging, to be able to do only that, you'd have to put in a lot of legwork. Yeah. And I don't think it would be possible now without doing social media stuff. Yeah. You have to have, and I'm not good at this, but the people that are making money being gigging people, they are just constantly posting every day. Yeah. And no company is going to give you endorsement stuff if you don't have that online presence or anything like that. So the successful people that I know that are doing just gigging they're doing that stuff too. So I guess even their income isn't only coming in from gigging too. They're getting some stuff from product endorsement and stuff like that too. So it's out there, but it takes there's a lot of risk, like you were saying.
Yeah, I know. When I was up in Minneapolis, and this is kind of more of a big city area thing, but wedding bands, especially in the summer, is where a lot of the gigging money comes from.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's big money in the weddings. You can charge whatever you want.
Yeah, and then the hard part with that is you're only going to play top 40 music.
And that's fun. You can, with the stuff we were talking about earlier, you can have just as much fun playing in a wedding band, playing canned tunes. But you got to remember, you're there. Those people want to hear the electric slide. You know what I mean? That's not lame to them. As lame as you think it is while you're standing there playing the electric slide, everybody wants to do the electric slide. So
and then you talked about earlier, you guys, Midwest Hype makes their own songs, and you do all originals, and it's really hard to make money doing your own music. But are you guys able to do that?
Yeah. So we do. I mean, so when we play a Midwest Hype gig, we get paid. So, but it's in 20 years we've been able to raise our asking price because we have history. Experience does wonders, right? Yeah. If people know that you can make people have a good time, they're going to hire you back. And I think there's a certain amount of luck in there too. That we were young, popular dudes that guys wanted, people wanted to come out and see. They wanted to be a part of the fun time that we were having. And then our music kind of was, the connective tissue of all that. Yeah. So people are learning the songs now, they're singing the words. And then, that made people want to say, I want to pay for that to be the good time.
Nice.
That I want people to have. And then we got out of playing covers and stuff like that because we started realizing we don't have to do that. Yeah. And then now after 20 years we could play 4 or 5 hours of original music. Nice. So we've forgotten songs that we wrote. We had band practice the other day and we're like, what is this chord? There was one instance where our keyboard player goes, what is that chord? And we just didn't know that we were for 10 years or whatever. They were playing. One guy was playing a half diminished chord, and one guy was playing a fully diminished chord, and so it was A and A flat.
Wow.
At the same time, and we just never. It's on the recording like that, and we never.
Yeah. What would you recommend? So we talked about it earlier, things you should learn. So what steps would you take? Who wants to just to be their career, and we did mention that earlier.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, but definitely good advice is practice. Watch other people doing it.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to get to a point where if you do start gigging, you're not going to be able to go out and watch the other bands that you want to see, right? So while you're mad that you don't have any gigs right now, go out there and watch what people are doing.
Yeah.
See, why do they have that gig?
Yeah.
You know, are they better than you? You know what I mean? Like, be honest with yourself. Like, can you actually do what they're doing? Like, don't get frustrated about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We hit on this several times, but going to the open mics, the open jams, hang out at a music store, find out that kind of stuff. Find those bulletin boards on college campuses that are looking for people to play.
Yeah.
Call them and go play. You might play with 10 people that you don't like before you find somebody that you do like playing with.
Yeah. Well, if you guys have any other questions about like playing in bands, we would love to hear about them. And this is Roxy Music. Thanks for tuning in.